But already, based on some of the testimony that we have heard, we know that we have so much more work to do. When we can hear a medical professional offer testimony to a House committee that cannabinoids and medical marijuana are not the same thing is utterly staggering. How is that possible? Cannabinoids are what makes marijuana medical in the first place. This is the expert testimony that our committee is going to make decisions about the future of treatment options for Antonia, for Sydney, for Hannah, for Joe Mert, for all of our critically ill Pennsylvanians. We cannot let that stand, ladies and gentlemen. You know, one of the things that we have heard about up there, and we'll continue to hear about it, and I'm going to testify about it, is the red herring of FDA approval. Every medical society comes up and says, well, we believe that there's some efficacy to medical cannabis, but we need more studies and we need FDA clinical trials. Do you know why that cannot possibly work? The FDA does not conduct clinical trials on its own. The FDA reviews clinical trials and the results submitted by patent holders. You have to hold a patent for a substance that you are subjecting to FDA clinical approval. And guess who holds the patents on the medical efficacy of cannabinoids? Can you guess? The United States of America. The federal government tells us that it is a Schedule I controlled substance with no medical benefit whatsoever, and yet they hold the patents on cannabinoids as antioxidants. They hold the patents on cannabinoids as neuroprotectants. Our own government is doing this to us. We are told, oh no, that's okay. Somehow, to use the doctor's term earlier, cannabinoids can be extracted from the plant material and put into a pill form. After all, we have this wonderful pill called Marinol that has been approved by the FDA. Have you talked to a single medical marijuana patient who tells you that Marinol is worth anything whatsoever? It is not. It's garbage. Why do we know that? Because it's extracted from the whole plant. We have had scientific and medical evidence over and over again that what makes cannabis effective as a medical treatment is whole plant cannabis. It's called the entourage effect. No matter how much Representative Baker may hope that GW Pharmaceuticals comes to the rescue with Epleodex as a manufactured seizure medication, it will never, ever, ever be as good as the natural plant. What we're asking for, please, our representatives and our senators in the Pennsylvania legislature, don't play politics with sick Pennsylvanians. Let Pennsylvanians and their physicians decide what is the appropriate and effective medical treatment. Do not force Pennsylvanians to move to Michigan, to Colorado, to Oregon, to Washington. Don't make families become uprooted. Don't make us become medical refugees. Give us the most inclusive program possible. Let these decisions be made between physicians and their patients. Don't place arbitrary restrictions on qualifying conditions or treatment delivery methods that have no basis in science or fact. One of the things that we're faced with this bill right now is one of the most effective cannabis delivery methods is called vaporization. It's safe. It does not involve combustion. That was removed from our bill. And instead, what do we get? We get nebulizers. What is a cannabis nebulizer? I can tell you what it is, ladies and gentlemen. It's a figment of GW Pharmaceuticals' imagination. It doesn't exist, and it cannot possibly work. How do we know that it cannot possibly work? Nebulizers are water-soluble. Cannabinoids are not. So, for whatever reason, maybe it's the lobbying interests of the pharmaceutical industry. Maybe it's the money being paid to the chairman of the health committee, Representative Baker, who's up there right now, making faces every time someone talks about the efficacy of medical cannabis. Maybe it's GW Pharmaceutical that is calling the shots right here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. But what I do know, ladies and gentlemen, is that the restricted list that's available and restricting this to nebulizers that don't exist and cannot possibly work tells me that at least some in our legislature are not concerned about you, Jessica. They're not concerned about Antonia. They're not concerned about us. They're concerned about playing politics. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to go back to the hearing room. We're going to have hearings throughout the afternoon. Thank you very much for rallying. And I would like, at this point, to give the opportunity to hear from some of these parents and some of these patients who are so desperate for an effective, non-toxic treatment alternative right here in Pennsylvania.